want to say good afternoon, Mr. Tom Fry. How you doing?
I'm good. Are you?
I'm all right, man. Definitely glad that we get to have this sit down. You know, we'll talk about many things off camera, which will stay off camera. But one thing I do want to talk about is, if we could start on it, is probably the song I heard of yours first, which was Bad Advice.
Mm-hmm.
When did you first actually make that record?
I think 2013 December. So I made it up in Sheffield, and it was just off the back of like a very bad like contractual situation with like the first managers I was with, and I was just finding out all the truths and that. And I think it was just before Christmas or something. I was going back to Sheffield. I was going back home from Sheffield, so I just needed to lay it all out.
What for the record? Because when I heard the record, when I first listened to it, I thought it felt like that. The second verse felt like it was going maybe more worldly or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But what were you actually saying in the first verse? If you could break it down.
I can't remember it. Do you know what? Like, lyric on lyric, I don't always break things down so much. Like, it's more just I have like a concept or a sentiment in mind, and at that time, it was off a very factual situation, but obviously I was very emotional at the time, and like I was very frustrated that I felt like artists are not protected.
It's true.
Like, and what happened to me, fortunately these days, is more of a rarity than it used to be. But I'm so dedicated to music. I always have been, and I always will be. And I felt very strongly about the fact that there are people around that are just happy to exploit that. So like, the main point of the song is how do I carry on unaffected by something that I have seen now and I have felt now? Like, how do you move on and sort of learn from it, but don't let it affect you in the future, and don't become paranoid of everyone? I still like to believe that in the world, and even in the music industry, that there's a lot of people that love music and believe in music, and it's been very difficult for me to get over the fact that not everybody's going to be like that. It was just happened to be some of the first people that I met. Yeah.
That's almost like not trying to be jaded by experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when something's that potent and something that affects, music's my life. So when something affects my music, it affects my family, and it affects my home life, and it affects everyone that I know. And you know, my family, like, they was with me from young. I've been making music since I was like 13, 14 or something, maybe even younger. And they've always been with me, and like, to see the stress that it put on them, that made me feel away.
So in terms of your family structure then, when you're in a situation where it looks like, okay, here's your passion,
yeah,
it's gonna go a certain place, I guess all of your family's thinking like, hey, like, Tom, when he does it,
yeah,
we're gonna be hopefully all right.
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong, like, my family have amazed me time and time again. Like, when I was a kid, I was reckless, man. I was a reckless kid, and I don't know why. I look back now, because I'm a dad now as well, and I look back and I think, how did you put up with all of that? Like, how did you? I don't know what I do. I do get it, because I know I'd be the same for my daughter. But wow, like, there was nothing in it for you. Like, protecting me the way you protected me, there was nothing in it for you. And yeah, like, obviously the setup that we've got is that they know that if it all works out, they will be looked after before I am. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But a song like that, Bad Advice, it's going to be hard to write songs as potent as that ever again, because that situation was so dark, and the only thing that I'm proud of as an artist is that really represents how I was feeling at that time, like, and so for that reason there's a part of me that feels like I hope I never have to make a song like that again.
Do you know, I remember when I think I saw it online, and I think you performed it live somewhere. I think this is when there was a previous PR that was PRing the record. And I listened to it, I was like, yeah, he switched on. I was like, I know what that is. I know what it is, and it was so honest. I was like, wait, hold on, this. Yeah. You're saying that, like, but it was good, and as you just said now, that, you know, it marked a time that isn't currently present. But another thing I just want to talk about is your songwriting abilities, which I think are really, they're of a high level and a high standard.
Appreciate that, man.
Speak to me a bit about how you view songwriting for yourself as an artist.
Songwriting is like what I do. Do you know what I mean? I always want to be an artist that performs my own songs, but it's never been about being a singer for me. Like, mainly because, like, I know singers. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know singers. I know real singers. Like the girls that do like backing vocals for my band, or like, and one of them is actually my vocal coach, and like, and even other artists, you know what I mean? Not just, but they are singers. Like, I can't do that. Do you know what I mean? I know how to make a song, I know how to match an emotion using my voice, but songwriting for me, like, I started off rapping. That's what I did. Like, when I was a kid, when I was between like 2006 and 2009, that was my first introduction to writing lyrics. Do you know what I mean? Grime was a big thing in school playground, and I just immediately just fell for it, man. Like, it was just overnight. As soon as I first got introduced to it, I was like obsessed, and I wanted to go back to the playground the next morning and like be the best. I wanted to be the best, and I'm just so obsessed with like conveying like different emotions. It's not always a personal thing. Sometimes it's like, see my friend going through a hard time, and I want a song that they could need or something. Do you know what I mean? But songwriting is my obsession. Like, singing is something I always want to do. Like, if I ever become a songwriter only, it's because it didn't work out. Do you know what I mean? But that was never like my intention. I want to be an artist, but it's absolutely about just giving people songs that they can like live with. Do you know what I mean? I feel like there's been a lack of that for a long time. People that want to like write soundtracks to like people's lives. Do you know what I mean? And I know that's a big aspiration. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know if I'll ever get there. But that's the ambition. Is like music that really matters. You know what I mean? I listen to music that I wasn't even born when it was made.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's my ambition.
So at what point from you rapping did you think, wait, hang about, I can maybe sing to the girls? I don't know what it is, like, because usually like, wait, sing happy birthday, Tom.
Yeah, that's what it was. I just know. It was. I went to school. I went to school in Enfield where I live, and then I moved schools a bit further out the area. And then when I went to college, I went way out the area, and I just met a whole different bunch of people. Do you know what I mean? I remember turning up my first day in like Adidas tracksuit. And like everyone just looked at me like I was an alien. Like it's just Adidas. Like, get it in JD, it's cool, man. You know what I mean? Like, but slowly they started introducing me to like just bands like Rolling Stones and Arctic Monkeys, and this was like the first time I'd ever listened to that music properly. This was like 16, 17, and I'd only ever really listened to like Skepta and Gets. Do you know what I mean? And I think through time of being away from Enfield for so long, and that just being around more and more and more, I obviously just became curious. Just like, and that's why Alex Turner's never really left me as an inspiration, because like he writes bars. You know, like he does. Like he's the way he. It's really important to me that I can almost like read a song sometimes. Like, and just the way he uses words, that just become a big obsession for me. And then I was around bands and I set up bands, and I also took a time away from grime because as I was making the music, you know, I was involved in the lifestyle of it all, and that was becoming a bit much for me as well. I had a daughter when I was 17, and I just needed a break from it all because I was living it to the fullest, every aspect of it, and it was great, and I got some real amazing memories, but I was gonna have a daughter, man, do you know what I mean? And I had to really think about, you know, now I realise I could have just stayed in the studio and carried on rapping, do you know what I mean? I didn't need to just move away from it like completely, but I did. And then I just had a few years in bands. I was in 2 different bands, and I was in rehearsal rooms, and I was booking my own gigs and booking my own tours and going around the country and like performing to no one. Do you know what I mean? We'd go and like I remember we did like I booked like a Midlands tour, and I just called it a Midlands tour because we were just going around like Birmingham for like a week performing to no one, just racking up big hotel costs, and like, but I was just getting in that lifestyle and understanding how music worked. I'd always made beats, but how a band can work and how that made me feel became just as important as the songs, and like giving the guitarist a moment and going into a room with a band and saying, well, I've written this tune, how can we like exaggerate how this is supposed to feel? Like, that become massive for me. And then the band thing didn't really work out just because, like, you know, people would like come to like band meetings late because they're like playing football and that, and I'm like, mate, it's 20 minutes that I just can't afford to.
Band meetings, I never knew there was such a thing.
Well, you know, like, I'm just be plotting the future, do you know what I mean? Like huddle everyone together and just plan what we're doing, and like, I suppose I was a bit of a hard taskmaster then, because I was just a young kid with like so much ambition and not a lot of real life experience. That's quite a toxic combination, do you know what I mean? And so then when I started doing the solo stuff from like 2012, ever since then, the mission has been how to merge those two worlds naturally, and like finding the common theme between my influences with band music and hip hop. That's what I've been trying to do ever since, really.
Because I mean, I think it's when you talked about like, you know, reading, being able to read the lyrics. Like when I listen to the song, I won't say they're wordy, but I can hear.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean?
100%.
Do you know what I mean? And usually like some other things are more melodic,
yeah,
which is like, you know, and the way that they're arranged. But again, I guess now that makes sense when I see some of the features that before I may have thought, I'm listening to the sounds, but those people he's featuring may have been, it may seem like, not a disconnect, but maybe like, I didn't know that would happen. But it's still part of your roots.
Yeah, and that's from the lyric point of view, like, the only reason I laugh is because I just got visions of like my producer when I walk in the room with like these 6 sheets of lyrics, and I'm like, yeah, this is one song. You know what I mean? And like, he's like, how fast is it going to be? Because we only did 3 minutes. But in terms of like the collaborations, like that people that I've worked with so far have been quite hip hop centered, and the Lock-In Sessions version of the Sunday Scene that I'm about to release has got pros on there rapping their own verses to Don't Worry. The other 3 are not hip hop acts at all. But I don't really, why would I look at artists as something that's like got a category hanging over their head? It's not like that for me, do you know what I mean? I feel very sensitive sometimes to because of the kind of music that I make, if people ever think that I'd ever like be ripping off the culture of UK hip hop. Like, I'm very sensitive to that because I was writing lyrics before half of the kids that are listening to hip hop now even knew who Tupac was. Do you know what I mean? I was there and I was doing it, and I wasn't ever very good. Do you know what I mean? But I was there and I was giving it a go, and I was about it. I was living a life. So I do feel very sensitive to that. Like, and it rarely gets said, but you know, it does every now and then, and I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Do you know what I mean? Like, but I don't look at artists like that. I just like, when I go in the studio with Jake Isaac, and we're like, you know, I'll be on the piano and he's on the guitar and we're both singing, it's exactly the same thing as when I like go in a room with Young'un. It's the same thing because we just love music. Just love music. It's not, you know, like categories are just for like record shops and iTunes. It's not a real thing. Do you know what I mean? It just helps sell it and it helps market it, and that's important, but it's not actually a real thing at all, I don't think.